Welcome back, crew. Today I've got a big question for the community. What would your ideal tabletop RPG be? Would it be something that's rules light or mechanic heavy, tactical forward with the combat, or more narrative in its feel? What type of setting would it be in? Sci-fi, or would it be more fantasy? What would make up your ideal RPG? This is a question that came up in my Discord server, and I thought it'd be a fun one for the community as a whole. Kind of like a fun thought exercise. Because I know most of us aren't designers, and most likely will never get a chance to make our own RPG. But just thinking it through and kind of figuring out what would be your ideal tabletop RPG, I think makes it easier for you to find games that align with what you're looking for, or even have games that you already have, and maybe add some extra homebrew on there to make them kind of align a little bit more with what you'd like. So throw in the comments what your ideal RPG would be. We're going to talk about mine a little bit as well, but I definitely want to see what the community thinks. I think this is a fun question and one that's get asked a lot. And this is something that this probably won't happen until I'm retired or at least have a job where I've got a lot more free time. But I'd love to make my own tabletop RPG. It's something I think about all the time, but I just know that it'd need to be my full time job, and that can't happen at least for the next 23-ish years. And so so we'll do the fun thought experiment in between time. Yeah, we're gonna go through just a little bit of what I think would be my favorite RPG, but definitely throw down in the comments what yours would be. Like, give us like a good overview, like what you'd want, like the setting, any cool features or cool just kind of the build of it. Because that would just really make you excited to bring it to the table or to join up as a player. So for mine, and I was kind of thinking about it, and definitely, and as you're describing yours, I kind of thought about it in games I played before, and many I've played with this channel too. Because I really before I started this channel, before I kind of started doing some play by post with some other friends, I really hadn't played much of the rules light systems. I've been always been more of a crunch guy, and I'm like, oh, these probably aren't my favorite, but I've actually started to really develop a big appreciation for them. And huge shout out to Blades of the Dark and the Forge of the Dark system, because I think they're really one of the big ones that got me to really kind of give that a major chance and open my eyes to what they can do and how much fun you can have with it. And I think with my ideal RPG, it'd be a unholy mashup of a game in the Forge of the Dark style, mixed with Pathfinder 2e, a really kind of crunchy, tactically oriented combat. So basically, what I'd want it for is I'd want like for the Forge of the Dark style to have that kind of for the exploration and social mechanics, something that's very kind of quick paced narrative that has the dice support what players are trying to do and gives players a healthy kind of control over the narrative as well, kind of a healthy buy into the narrative, I'll say. But I really like that fast paced, anything can happen style feel. And even for something like the combat, that doesn't matter. Like you're going up against the grunt guards that sometimes you for other games you have to roll out the mat and kind of play it out. You know it's going to be the outcome of it already. A system that would really have that fast paced narrative feel to that portion of it. But on the flip side, when you get to the big boss or a combat that has stakes to it that matters, you could roll out the mat, you get your virtual tabletop fired up, whatever you may be doing, and give players a really good tactical combat where they've got a lot of different levers they can pull, real Pathfinder 2e-esque, where it's balanced. Players have a ton of options they can pull out, and really kind of encourages team-based conquering of those challenges where like one because sometimes in some of the systems and I'm gonna pick on 5e. I try not to but yeah, you don't want where it feels like everybody can do their own thing and still win. I really like that Pathfinder 2e feel where you got to come together as a team and really have sound tactics to overcome the threats that are coming up against you, and that would definitely be a huge element in my ideal RPG. And I was kind of thinking through, so those are definitely big pieces so far for narrative, for the combat, or for the exploration, social style, real narrative feel, quick pace, a lot of character or kind of player buy-in or tools they can access to flip the narrative, and then on the combat side, really tactical, team-oriented, precise. It would definitely make me happy. Now, setting is what I'm torn on. I'd want 2 books now. If I ever got the chance to do this, I'd want one that is, like, geared towards fantasy, probably filtered, very either agnostic or filtered towards my homebrew world, Kazuya, and I'd want one that's, like, the other side, like, the whole end of the spectrum, sci-fi or at least sci-fantasy. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I probably want I'd be heavy on the science side, but I do want one where we've got starships, galactic battles, real space opera-esque, real like a Star Wars Mass Effect style feel. hopefully using the same mechanic. I still want that narrative pace, as well as the tactical combat, just switching up some of the options, classes, and things like that. Now, this is what I'm torn on. So we've kind of got through. We went through the setting, we went through the feel of it. Uh, well, classless, and levelless, and what I'm torn on. And I love classless systems. You can go through and build your attributes. And for like a sci-fi or sci-fantasy one, I'd lean more classless. But for fantasy, I feel like and this is probably just me coming up with D&D and Pathfinder. Like it's kind of those are my introductions to the tabletop world. For fantasy, I feel like it's hard to completely break out of the class mold. Probably my ideal one would probably have like frameworks within the class, a little similar to Symbaroum a little bit, where it have frameworks within the class, but you'd have options to break out of it, and you'd have points that you could go and spend on whatever you wanted to. Yeah, I'm feeling levelist too, but for fantasy, it's hard to balance levelist. So probably have to do level on the fantasy side, but maybe on the sci-fi side doesn't have to be its own leveled either. It kind of gives a little bit of Mutants and Masterminds feel where it gives you different power levels, but that's just basically where you can spend your attribute points and kind of where it balances out with your attack, defenses, and all that cool stuff. Because I love giving players a lot of tools, and I like when kind of the my ideal system would definitely give them the option to really build whatever crazy thought PC they've got in their head, and hopefully be able to kind of bring it to the paper, bring it to the virtual tabletop, and be able to have role play and bring them to life. So that would definitely be a big piece of my system. So kind of torn on that one. If I ever had to sit down and do one, I'd have to kind of figure that out. But that's definitely something I'd want to have in there. So yeah, this is just kind of a little bit of a thought experiment. And one thing I want to give a shout out to her too. I was kind of reading, and another thing that sparked this outside of the Discord conversation was I was reading a post on Reddit about kind of crunchy RPGs. And one of my favorite publishers, Massive Press, is actually coming out with a new game, Icon, which, from what I've seen, there's a playtest out. I haven't read the playtest. I think I've said it before on the channel. I usually like to wait till RPGs have their hardcover out before I start reading them. So I'll probably wait till the hardcover comes out to pick that one up. But from what I've heard, it's going to have like real like Lancer style detailed combat. But they're going for a real narrative, PBTA style feels what they're said. Hopefully more Forge. I know Forge the Dark and PBTA are kind of like cousins, how similar they are. But real kind of good narrative feel, really kind of fun, quick, fast, and the out of combat feel. So I'm looking forward to check that one out once I get that hardcover published. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. This was just something I wanted to do after the conversation in my Discord. I think this would be fun to have with this wider community too. So to really throw in some cool stuff that you'd want to see for your own RPG below. I'm looking forward to see what crazy stuff this community has. But yeah, it's still May, so our May game of the month is Champions. Keep an eye out. We're going to be doing a video tomorrow on core mechanics. It's just kind of going through how to play the champion system with your superhero. We are going to be having a game for that, live play, actual play, like we usually do. Um, we're canceling the 25th session. I don't know when the session will be. Stay tuned for that. I'll post it in our community comments there, so everybody keep an eye for that portion too. But yeah, throw in the comments what your ideal system would be. Let us know the setting. Let us know how you'd handle the mechanics, all the cool stuff. Like, subscribe, and definitely keep following. But until next time, folks.